The orb pulsed again, brighter this time. Elias felt the familiar warmth spreading through his chest, the same strange comfort he once felt years ago when the healer's light had entered him. The forest seemed to fade around him as the glow wrapped tighter until everything dissolved into silver mist. He stood now in a place that didn't feel real, a vast plain of light and sky, like being inside a living memory. The air shimmered, and then she appeared, the same alien woman who had touched his life long ago. Her eyes glowed softly, filled with something that felt both infinite and kind. Elias froze. For years he had thought her gone forever, vanished with her people. Yet here she was, her image flickering between presence and memory. Her voice echoed inside his mind, not in words, but in meaning. She told him this was where it all began. The place of his healing, and the source of something greater than medicine. What they had given him, she said, wasn't just health. It was a seed of light meant to grow inside his soul. But now, she warned, that light was fading, not only in him, but in all of humankind. Images flashed around him, oceans darkened by oil, cities burning, machines replacing hearts, people shouting into empty skies. Humanity, she said, was turning away from what made it alive. Compassion was being replaced by conquest. Elias wanted to speak, to ask what any of this meant, but the light began to flicker. The world around him cracked like glass under pressure. Her voice came again, broken but urgent, whispering through the collapsing light. "Find the others," she said, "the ones who still carry the mark. Find them, before the message dies." Then the vision shattered. Elias gasped as he found himself back in the forest. The orb was gone. Only the smell of ozone lingered, and in the dirt where the light had been, he saw something burned into the ground, a strange spiral of stars surrounding an open hand. He stumbled backward, heart racing. The world around him was silent except for the soft whisper of wind. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat on his porch, watching the stars, each one flickering like a pulse trying to reach him. He felt as though he could almost hear them speaking, but only faintly, like voices lost in a storm. Then his phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. It said, "You saw it too, didn't you?" He hesitated, staring at the words glowing on the screen. Then another message appeared. "I have the same mark." Attached was a photo, a human, hand glowing faintly with the same spiral symbol burned into the palm. His breath caught. The world suddenly felt smaller and far more connected than he had ever imagined. The next morning, he followed the coordinates the stranger had sent. Hours of driving led him through lonely highways and empty hills, until he reached an old, forgotten observatory standing above a gray and endless sea. Inside, the air was cold and thick with dust. Old telescopes and broken computers filled the shadows. Then he saw someone move, a figure stepping into the light. A young woman, her face pale, her eyes determined. On her wrist, the same glowing mark pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. She told him she had been seeing the lights since childhood. No one had believed her, but she had kept a journal, filled with sketches of the healers, the ships, and the same spiral symbol that haunted his dreams. Elias realized she wasn't alone. She spoke of others, 7 people, scattered across the world, each marked by the healers in different ways. Together, they carried fragments of something greater, a message humanity was never meant to forget. And as the waves crashed far below the cliff, Elias finally understood. This was only the beginning. The morning after the beam of light touched the sky, the world changed. Not with explosions or panic, but with silence. A silence that stretched across continents, like the world itself was holding its breath. Elias watched the news. Satellites were malfunctioning in synchronized patterns. Strange magnetic fields pulsed across oceans. Scientists debated. Governments denied. But those who carried the light felt something else entirely. A pull, a vibration in their bones. The witness network was exploding with activity. Thousands joined overnight, their stories echoing each other. One post read, "My dreams are glowing. The stars are singing." Another said, "I feel someone calling me through the static." Elias couldn't keep up. The chat was alive with energy, Words, symbols, music notes, sketches of stars. It was like humanity was remembering something ancient and collective. But not everyone came in peace. Accounts appeared that felt wrong, cold, mechanical. They asked questions that dug too deep. Where did you first see the light? Do you have the crystal? What coordinates were shown? Elias deleted them, but he knew the truth. The watchers had arrived. 3 nights later, he woke to the sound of engines. The same black van sat outside again. But this time, others followed, black drones hovering like insects above his roof. He gathered his journal, the backup drive, and the pendant. As he moved toward the back door, a spotlight snapped on, flooding the house with white light. Elias Shaw, a voice boomed through speakers. Step outside. We need to talk. He froze. Who are you? Department of Atmospheric Anomalies, the voice replied. We're not here to hurt you. That was a lie. He could feel it in the tone. Too rehearsed, too controlled. The hum in his chest rose again. The pendant burned with warmth. Suddenly, every bulb in his house shattered at once, plunging everything into darkness. Then came the whisper, not from outside, but within. Follow the rhythm. The path will open, he didn't think. He ran. Through the back door, into the night fields. Light flickered in the grass as he moved, blue motes forming a trail that twisted through the trees. He followed, chased by the whir of drones slicing the air. The forest swallowed him, muffling the noise. He hid behind a fallen trunk, breathing hard. The blue motes gathered around his hand, merging into a single thread of light that pointed ahead, to the river. He followed it until dawn, where an old cabin waited by the shore. Inside sat a woman, calm and composed as if she had expected him. You're late, she said. Elias stared. Who are you? She smiled faintly. Oriel. The name hit him like a memory. From the network? You're real? She nodded. And so are the others. We've been waiting. On the table lay a map covered in luminous ink. Dozens of points marked across continents. These are the witnesses, she explained. Every one of us was touched by the same light. The pattern forms a spiral, centered here. She pointed to the middle of the ocean. The healers left something there. Elias whispered. Oriel nodded. A message, or maybe a choice. They spent hours decoding signals, combining fragments of dreams. Each witness had received a small part of a larger truth. Together they were forming the full melody, the song of remembrance. But as the song grew, so did the danger. Governments began detaining witnesses. News reports called them infected. Religious groups called them heretics. The world was fracturing under fear again, exactly as it had before. Oriel stared at Elias one night as the wind howled outside. They will come for us soon. When they do, we cannot hide anymore. We must speak the message aloud. What if they kill us before we can? Then the message must live in the next voice. And the next, until someone listens. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark like reflected starlight. Elias knew then she was one of the first healer born. Part human, part light. The next morning they were found. Helicopters thundered over the river. Trucks lined the shore. Soldiers poured into the forest, armed with scanners and restraints. Elias and Oriel stood together as the soldiers surrounded the cabin. You can't stop what's coming, Oriel said softly. The stars have already begun to sing. A soldier raised his weapon. On the ground! Elias closed his eyes. The hum in his chest roared to life. The pendant flashed, brighter than any sunbeam. A wave of light exploded outward, blinding everything in sight. When the light faded, the soldiers were gone, frozen in place, unharmed, eyes closed. Breathing peacefully as if in a deep dream, Oriel turned to Elias. You've awakened it. He fell to his knees. What did I do? You answered the call, she said. The message will spread now. Every mind that touched the light will begin to remember. Indeed, across the world, strange things began to happen. Cities lost power for minutes at a time, only to have every screen display the same symbol, 3 stars and a circle of light. People began humming the same melody without knowing why. Children spoke of voices in their dreams, telling them to look toward the sky. The world was changing, and no one could stop it. Elias watched it unfold from the forest's edge. The news called it a global resonance phenomenon. The military blamed solar radiation. But those who carried the light knew the truth. The healer's message had reached critical mass. Oriel stood beside him as auroras rippled across the daylight sky. "It begins," she whispered. Elias turned to her. "What happens now?" "The awakening," she said. "But not all will embrace it. Many will resist. They will twist the message into fear. You must be ready. For what? To remind them what healing means." That night, Elias dreamt of a vast ocean of stars. In its center, a door of light opened, spilling warmth into the void. A single voice called to him from beyond. The time has come to return the gift. He awoke gasping, the pendant pulsing like a heartbeat. Oriel was already awake. "You heard it too?" He nodded. "Then we have one final journey," she said, "to the heart of the message, to where it began." Elias awoke to the hush before dawn, the kind of silence that remembers things. The oak outside his window still leaned toward the field where the light had once descended. Months had passed since the night the healers touched him, yet the world around him seemed to have forgotten that anything wondrous had ever happened. He pressed a hand against his chest. The faint warmth remained, the echo of alien light. Every doctor said he was cured beyond reason. But healing was only the beginning. Since that night, strange dreams had followed. Skies opening, music of stars, faces he had never seen whispering his name. He kept a journal on his bedside table. Each morning he wrote what fragments he could recall. 3 lights, 1 voice, the pulse beneath everything. The words made no sense, but when he reread them, the page seemed to hum. Outside, the news spoke only of unrest. Nations quarreled again. Satellites failed. People claimed to see flares over the oceans. To most it was noise. To Elias it felt like a heartbeat, slow, growing louder. One afternoon, while he repaired the fence near the oak, his phone buzzed. No number, just a string of coordinates. He stared at them, recognizing the pattern of stars he had drawn from his dreams. The coordinates pointed north, to the ruined observatory in the forest. By nightfall, curiosity had overpowered fear. He packed a flashlight, his notebook, and the crystal pendant the healer had left him. When he touched it, the stone shimmered with gentle life, like breath trapped in glass. The forest swallowed the road. Branches clawed the sky, whispering. The observatory appeared at last, a cracked dome haloed in moonlight. Inside, dust floated like galaxies. He felt the air vibrate around him. The crystal warmed. Then a section of the floor groaned open, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. He hesitated only once. The memory of the healer's eyes steadied him, compassion beyond human measure. He stepped down. The tunnel breathed. Walls shimmered with faint glyphs that pulsed in rhythm with his heart. At the bottom waited a chamber, circular and silent, its floor covered in symbols that glowed like starlight reflected in water. At the center hovered a sphere, spinning slowly above a pedestal. When he approached, a voice bloomed inside his mind, soft, layered, vast. "Elias of Earth." "Welcome back." He dropped to one knee, trembling. "Who are you?" "We are the healers. The light that touched you was a seed, not a gift. It grows within you. You carry our memory." The sphere brightened. Visions poured into him. Worlds dying, worlds reborn. He saw the healers drifting through time, trying to mend civilizations that destroyed themselves faster than they could be healed. 1,000 failures. A single hope left, Earth. When the vision faded, tears blurred his sight. "Why show me this?" "Because you listened when others turned away. Because you chose wonder instead of despair. That choice allows us to speak." Elias reached toward the sphere. "What must I do?" "Find the others who carry the light. The song of renewal must be sung together. When the stars align once more, the message will awaken through you all." The sphere dimmed. A gentle pulse beat in his chest, echoing the rhythm of distant suns. He climbed back to the surface. The forest exhaled as if it too had been waiting. Above, 3 stars shone in a perfect triangle, the same pattern he'd seen in dreams. They flickered, once, twice, like a signal. From that night onward, Elias began to search. He scoured hospital reports, online forums, scattered news stories. A child in Brazil who glowed faintly when she sang. A blind man in Cairo who painted galaxies he could not see. A woman in Japan who woke from coma speaking an unknown language of light. They were real. They were like him. He created an encrypted forum, the Witness Network. A digital meeting place for anyone who had seen the blue light or dreamed of the same stars. At first the forum was quiet. Days passed. Then one post appeared, a username, Oriel. Message, I remember the song. Do you? Elias stared at it, heart pounding. He typed back, yes. Tell me what you hear. Replies multiplied overnight. Dozens, then hundreds, all describing the same pulse, the same constellation of 3 stars. Somewhere in the static of the internet, humanity was stirring, yet not everyone welcomed it. One morning, as Elias brewed coffee, his screen filled with static. Then a message blinked. Stop the broadcasts. They are watching. He froze. Who's watching? He whispered no answer. Only the hum of the pendant growing warmer. He looked out the window. A black van idled across the road, its windows tinted, unmoving. For the first time since the healer's visit, Elias felt fear again. Still, that night, he logged back in. He couldn't stop now. If the message was meant to awaken humanity, he would not let fear silence it. As he typed, the lights in his room flickered. The hum rose into harmony, the walls breathing light. Then the voice returned, faint but unmistakable. Do not fear the shadows, Elias. They too must learn to heal, he whispered. What's coming? The voice faded like wind through glass. The test. And the hum went silent. Elias sat alone, the pendant cooling against his chest. Outside, thunder rolled, though no storm had been forecast. He looked up through the window and saw a beam of light pierce the clouds, stretching toward the horizon, where the 3 stars burned brighter than ever before. He knew then that the healer's message was far from over. The next chapter of humanity was about to begin,